we are going to now work on the second part of the cubes that you made, where we are modifying them. You might remember that I already have an example right here of a modified cube, and looks like an upside down T. And just to start, I'm going to show you all kind of how I did this, but I'm going to do this on this box over here. I'm going to start with that cube that I have already, and I'm going to draw out a T, and I'm going to modify it to all for all the angles on the side to go down to the vanishing point here. So when you're doing this, this is going to be really fun. You're going to get this kind of like futuristic sort of looking finished product of all these different modified geometric kind of cubes going back into the vanishing point. And there's an example on Canvas for you to sort of look at like what the finished product will look like. So you have a lot of range of getting creative with this, exploring a little bit, and I'm going to show you a couple options that you can kind of explore a little bit too. So you are welcome to keep, really square sort of shapes, like really hard right angles and stuff within your cubes if you want to. You can get, different letters are really fun to do. So like you can work with T's, letter H, do something like that. But if you want to graduate to getting some like curves or something like that, like you can always start by kind of adding in a curve to your cube, like something like that. And then you would kind of erase out these other lines up here. So right now you should have these cubes, and you're going to just think of these cubes that you have already drawn with 10 above and 10 below as a guideline for you to modify. So let's start by drawing the T. I have my ruler here, and it's going to be a right side up T. So I'm just going to try to get my red lines parallel with the bottom line of my cube, or the front face of my cube. So when you're doing this, always start by kind of modifying what's happening in the front face of each cube. And then whatever you alter in the front face will then be applied to the bottom and the side. So I'm lining up the bottom with my red line here. I'll just do 2 little marks for the underside of my T shape. And then I also want to have parallel lines for the middle part of my T. I want that parallel line for the middle part of the T to be parallel to this outer line of my front face of my cube. I'll do another one right here. I'm just going to go in without my ruler and just really make sure that these things are intersecting. Okay. So after I do that, I'm going to find these different intersecting points, and those are what is going to be modified. I'm going to have what's left over, this front facing T shape, and then these lines will be erased, but I want to save that for later. So what I can start to do is I can start pulling where those intersections are down to my vanishing point every time. So I'll line that up. I'm going to pull that down to my vanishing point, line this up, pull this down to my vanishing point. And then I want to make sure that I'm getting this as well. I have to get that corner and pull it to my vanishing point. And then because my box that is above the horizon line is going to the right, I won't be able to see whatever information is on the left-hand side of that box. So as I said, using these cubes or boxes as a guideline is a good place to start. You're just going to want to be looking at the orthogonal lines that are on the side and the bottom that you already drew out. So don't even worry about that left-hand side. See, right, even in that invisible box over here, you'll see that whatever's behind that front-facing area will be gone. So you can always, if you get confused, I think referring to the invisible box could be pretty helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and got to do this bottom intersection of my T shape that I'm working on. Bring that orthogonal over. Okay, so then once you start getting a lot of orthogonal lines on here, things are gonna get a little bit confusing. So you're gonna have your eraser handy, and I want to start getting rid of some of these lines. Like, see, I think I actually even added a line that I don't even need here, or maybe not. But I am gonna erase this out. I'm gonna erase out this line. I have to erase out this whole side too, because that's just like negative space now. And I'll erase out this orthogonal line. And then I have to I'm gonna just try to bring back these lines as well, the ones that go on the side. So I know that there's a T shape in the front, so I have to kind of think like, how am I gonna make that T shape in the back? And I'm always gonna keep my lines parallel with a piece of paper. See, especially if this line is parallel, then it's gotta be parallel to the piece of paper, or rather, if this line is parallel, whatever's on the back side of that will have to be parallel too. So I'm gonna find this bottom intersecting line. I'm gonna erase these lines out just so I can see more clearly what I'm doing. Bring up that shape. So that's this side going down to here. And then now I have to echo this bottom right side of my T. And then I have to echo this parallel line here, which I already kind of have, the back side of my cube. So that's already kind of existing. I'll just kind of bring that in a little bit. Erase out whatever else. And then you don't have to perfectly erase out these orthogonal lines. You're welcome to if you want to, but then I kind of go in and just take my pencil and just darken up the edges of this T just to make it really pop out and bring out that contrast. Just so that this is kind of like all very much a learning guide, but at the end of this, you will kind of have this really cool futuristic looking drawing, as I said. So you can play with putting kind of circular archways in it. You can even play with, you don't have to only do like letters, like you can really play with this idea of architecture. So if you're a designer or an architecture student, this is going to be something that you are going to have to know, and really you're going to be able to apply this to anything that you design. So if I wanted to play with, creating some more architectural elements and getting out of the letters that I'm working on, so I could like add a peak to this T or something like that. And then I can like see, where the lines go back down, and just erase this out. And just check and see, does that kind of looks like it falls behind. That looks like it falls behind. So I could just leave that way, and that would kind of make sense, I believe. Yeah, if it's going behind, since I'm lining this up, this intersection up here with the vanishing point, then it looks like it's good to go. Another thing you can do too is like, you can kind of play with like, what if, you added like a backside to these as well. If you added like some sort of back-sided element to the behind your cube, to the back part of your cube, what would that look like? The point of this, for me to show you this, is just to show you how truly creative you can be, and how much fun you can have with this. Yeah, do I want this back cube should this go back in space? I don't know. It's fun. It's a good time. Just get weird with it. Okay, so yeah, then I could erase that out. So I can make like these cubes look like it's going back in space, just for example, to show you how fun this can be. So like I said, designers and architects, keep this in mind. If you ever like to art design something like a house, or like even like a chair or a bench, you would apply this 1-point linear perspective vanishing point, and you could really start to understand the depth of whatever you're making, like as if this was like a bench with someone sitting on it. So anyways, you're gonna have 10 cubes that you modify that are gonna be above the horizon line. You're gonna have 10 cubes below the horizon line that you also modify. You're gonna try to erase out the orthogonals after you modify them. And then you're just gonna have that one invisible box in your drawing as well, just as your guideline as you work. Good luck, get creative, and have fun.